Ahlan wa sahlan. Welcome to the Oriental Café, a podcast where we will sit at the same table to explore the fascinating worlds of Egyptian dance, personal empowerment, and halas, life. I'm your host, Joana Saahirah, world-renowned Oriental dancer, teacher, choreographer, and author, the creator of the pioneering Joana Saahirah's World and Joana Saahirah's Online Dance School. I will meet you at the Oriental Café every 2 weeks, alone or with a guest, sharing intimate yet universal conversations. In agreement or disagreement, we will create bridges and inspire each other, because the world is only one, and so is our human soul. Ready to fall in love? Yalla bina! My dance career in Egypt and what I have learned from it. Here's episode 0 of the second season of the Oriental Café podcast by yours truly, Joana Saahirah. First of all, I want to thank all the guests and amazing audience that made our first season possible. And I am thrilled to announce that the second season, the one we are inaugurating now, is even better. We have deeper, more fun, thorough, detailed, and hopefully inspirational conversations for you. And I am absolutely sure you're going to love this season. Now, what I'm going to share with you in this episode is a selection of lessons I have learned the hard way during my 10-year career, life, research, performance ride in Egypt, mostly in Cairo. This is where I began my career. This is where I launched my name internationally. This is where I went deep into the language of Egyptian Oriental and Folkloric dance, what people erroneously call belly dance. This is where I made myself into the dancer and person I am proud to be today. This is where I became an adult. I moved to Egypt to start my career very young and by myself. So needless to say, this ride, this 10-year ride of performing in Egypt was not only about building a career, it was about building myself as an adult, as a human being in the world. And what I'm about to share with you is personal, but hopefully helpful and empowering to everyone, dancers and non-dancers, independently of where you stand right now in your life. I wish that what I'm going to share with you can help you in some way, shape, or form. So what have I learned from almost a decade of work in Egypt? And I'm not mentioning many more years of work around the world. That's not the focus of this episode. But let me remind you, I have been in this field for more than 20 years, the field of Egyptian dance. So needless to say, there is so much I have learned from everyone and from every country I visited, every audience I performed for. But Egypt holds a special place in my heart for the best and worst reasons. Okay, so I'm going to be honest and I'm going to tell you the truth. Meshi? All right. So the first thing that my career in Egypt taught me was that having a clear and strong why, a clear and strong reason to do something is essential. Now, I don't think we should judge, and a lot of dancers dream of performing in Cairo because they want to be known. They want to claim, I have danced in Cairo, even if that means they're dancing under terrible conditions, not being paid or being paid very poorly, with no orchestra of their own, in terrible places that don't dignify them. I mean, there are many reasons why people move to Egypt to start a career and many ways to go about it. And it's not my job to judge, to criticize, or to say what is right and what is wrong. But I do believe that the reason why you do something and the reason why you chase a dream, a dance dream or any other dream, has to be clear and it has to be strong and hopefully soul or heart oriented. Again, I'm not judging any minor reason, any ego-oriented, fame, vanity, narcissistic reason. You're free, do your thing. But in my case, I knew that I wanted to start my career in Egypt, first of all, to have the opportunity to dance with Egyptians, for Egyptians, within the context of Egyptian culture and learn what that meant exactly. Also, because I wanted to test myself and I wanted to see how deep I could go in the art of Egyptian dance in Egypt, the birthplace of the dance. So it was more of a personal challenge than it was an eagerness to be known or to be famous or to be recognized. Those things came as a consequence. But what drove me there, my reason why, my motivation, the motive for action that led me to Egypt and made me start my career there alone, without a buffer, no impresarios, no managers, no one helping me, and a lot of obstacles I'm going to spare you from, is basically the ambition of becoming deeply knowledgeable in the art form of Egyptian dance, something that I had fallen in love with deeply. Okay, so once you dream about something, being a dancer in Egypt or anywhere else, it's important to know what you want to do, what exactly, what, and why you want to do that. Doing it because others have done it is not strong enough. It's not reason enough. Doing it because it's cool or it will make you famous, again, it's legit. But from my experience, it won't give you the strength, the power, the magnetism, the persistence, and the courage that you need when obstacles come, and they do come. Life in Egypt for a dancer is not easy. Particularly if you are a foreigner, you have no connections, you have no help, and you have the entire world telling you you're never going to make it. This happened to me. So I'm not saying this to sound like a victim. I'm no victim. I put myself in that pickle because I wanted to be in that pickle. Okay, I'm not a victim, but I'm also not going to lie. It is extremely difficult to make it happen the way I made it happen. It is crazy, it is obsessive, it is courageous, and it's not for everyone. But if you go there, if you dream big, and if you dare to make that dream come true, remember, have the what do I want exactly clear, and have the why do I want it so damn clear, because that will make your path so much easier and it will eventually lead you where you want to go. When we don't know exactly what we want and why we want it, we invariably end up in places we never wanted to end up at. And that's not a good place to be. And I have seen it happening with dozens of dancers that came and went from Cairo while I was living and performing there. Dancers came full of illusions, full of ambition, but without the clarity of what is it that they dream of, how does that look like, and why they want it so bad. This is a lesson that I learned early on when I moved to Egypt, and I realized, okay, I gotta get my beep together. Because if I don't know exactly what I want to build and why, and if that why is not very strong and coming from the heart, I'm not going to make it. This is too hard. There is a lot of corruption, lobbies, mafias, prostitution, a lot of monkey business that I never wanted to be a part of. And it's going to be impossible if I don't become absolutely grounded and clear about what is it that I want to achieve and why I want to achieve it from my heart, from my soul. Success and recognition comes as a consequence. That's the first thing I learned. And I hope that you keep it in mind independently of where you stand. Now, before I give you the second big lesson that performing in Egypt for almost a decade of my life taught me, I am going to make the proper invitation. Subscribe to the podcast newsletter if you want to receive goodies that I only offer our podcast newsletter community. You're going to find the link to do so in the description box below this episode or in the show notes if you're listening to the episode on the audio platforms. And make sure you claim a bonus gift, a PDF with 3 rules for success as an Oriental dancer. 3 rules that I have learned performing in Egypt for almost a decade of my life and performing so many more years around the world. What makes a great dancer? What brings success to a dancer? 3 rules that you want to know about. Claim that free ebook also in the description box below this video or in the show notes if you're listening to the episode on the audio platforms. Now that we got that out of the way, let me continue to lesson number 2. Let me take a sip of my water in my Moroccan cup. I love this cup. The second lesson I learned, and it was one that I also learned early on, is that ambition and adaptation don't have to mean losing yourself, losing your soul, losing your dignity. Once you move to a different country to work or to do whatever, you have to consider the culture that is receiving you, the rules, the house that is receiving you, and adapt to it, right? There is so much that I changed about my behavior, my way of dressing, the way I dealt with my daily life when I moved to Egypt because I was a visitor. I was invading a culture that had its own rules, its own principles. And I believe that when you go into someone's house, you have to respect that house. So, of course, there was a lot of things that I had to adapt to survive and thrive in Egypt. But that did not mean that I forgot about my values, my education, things like honesty, dignity, courage. These are dear to me. They come from my education. They come from what my parents gave me, and I wasn't willing to let go of them to get away and to get through. I was very clear, once again, clarity, on the things I was willing to adapt to and the things that I would never accept. So the game of corruption, the game of prostitution, the game of lobbies and mafias that runs the dance world in Egypt was always a world I said no to. I did not adapt to it. Therefore, I isolated myself. I created my own bubble. Okay, what does that mean? I had my team of musicians, assistants, and technicians, and those were my family, my world, and the bubble that I resumed my life to. That's it. I did not care if I wasn't invited to festivals or other people's shows or whatever. I did not care if people hated me to their guts simply because I was not getting into the game everyone was getting into. I did not care because I wanted to do things my way and yes, respect the culture I was living in, but unwilling to let go of my values and my dignity. So when you are adapting to a new culture and when you are ambitious, when you want to get to a certain place, I believe that the way to go is talent, hard work, professionalism, and basically being the best in your field, working so hard and pushing so hard that you are undeniably the best in your field. That guarantees the contracts, the work, the students, the audiences, and the growth of a long-term career. Yes, you can go for the shortcuts. Yes, you can go out with that guy who owns the nightclub or the hotel. Yes, you can lick the boots of an influencer or you can lick the boots of someone who runs a festival. I mean, of course you can do that. But from my experience, that is not going to allow you to grow long term. It can give you a short-term win and the illusion that you're making it, but in the long run, people will not respect you and they will not look at you as a professional and an artist. They look for and they respect and they have into high consideration. So adaptation and ambition are important, but they should never, never mean that you have to become the kind of person you are not proud of. That's the second lesson I learned from so many years of working and performing in Egypt. And notice that I was working, but I was also learning. I was learning from my musicians. I was learning from my audiences. I was learning from my assistants and technicians. I was learning from Mahmoud Reda, with whom I was studying and working simultaneously. I was working and learning every day, observing, getting to fall in love with the culture on a deeper level, with the language, the Arabic language, which for me remains the most beautiful in the world. Getting to fall in love with the best and the worst of Egypt and its culture. And consequently, getting to fall in love with the craft of Egyptian dance with a kind of depth that I did not know was possible. So there is a lot of giving and taking on this journey. Yes, I was performing. Yes, I was building my career. Yes, I was making money out of my work, but I was also receiving, paying attention, observing, asking, seeing how things work, and how I could use all that information, how I could use the cultural shock, how I could use the things I did not understand, the things I did not agree with, in my favor, in the favor of my growth, my maturity. How can I grow from all of this, including the things I don't like and don't accept? That was much of my journey during that 10-year period of work in Egypt, and everything I do at Joana's online dance school, in my private coaching programs, in my professional mastermind programs, where I teach dancers who want to become professionals how to build their first professional level course in performance. Basically, everything I do in my books, in this podcast, everything comes from direct experience in the field around the world, but mostly during those years of career and life in Egypt. Years of intense growth, intense shock, a lot of shock, and intense challenges that made me, let me repeat it, into the dancer and the person I am today. Now, the third lesson that I learned from my years of performing and living in Egypt is adopting the save yourself mentality, or becoming your shining knight in a shining armor. Most of us expect the world to save us, to guide us, to tell us what to do. Most of us presume that other people, the ones who surround us, have the obligation to save us. When we're down, why isn't someone saving me? When we're in difficulty, why isn't someone helping me? Why isn't the world supporting my dreams? Why isn't the world knocking on my door and telling me how fabulous I am and opening the doors of my dreams? Why? The reason is the world does not care. And I know this sounds so harsh, but it's true. And it is a lesson that, again, I learned the hard way. I remember a particular moment when I realized that there was no shining armor on a white horse coming to save me and help me fulfill my dreams. I remember the exact moment. My mom had come with me to Cairo for 2 weeks to help me with a move, to help me get a flat, fix the flat if needed, and basically settle down. After those 2 weeks, she left. She did not understand why I persisted and why I wanted to stay, because at the time there was a law forbidding foreigners from performing solo in the field of Oriental dance. So basically, the thing I went to Cairo for was illegal. I could not do it. So my mom obviously asked me, what the hell are you gonna do here if it's illegal to dance? You came here to perform Oriental dance solo, to have your own show with your orchestra, and you know, because you just got the news, there is a law saying that foreigners cannot perform solo in Egypt in the field of Oriental dance. You can't. It's illegal. You go to prison. How are you going to pay your bills? Mind you, I did not move to Egypt with the financial help of my parents or a partner or anyone else. I relied exclusively on my dance work to pay my bills. So this is real. It's real life. It is not a dream, and it is not coming from a privileged place. If I could not pay my bills from my dance work, I would be in the street without food, without a ceiling over my head. This is real. Okay. When I tell you about it, as I speak about it, I get the chills because I remember when I realized, oh my God, there is a possibility that all of this is going to fall and I'm not going to be able to do what I came here to do. But there was a strength in me that told me, no, you did not come all this way to quit. You are not a quitter. You are a winner. And somehow this is going to happen. I know it in my heart. So my mom left for Portugal. I dropped her at the airport. I went back to my home at that time. That was my first flat in the area of Heliópolis, not far away from the airport. And I entered my flat, totally empty, silent. I had my dinner. I felt sad because my mom had left, but I was expecting it. And then the reality of what I was about to experience dawned on me. I was alone, without work, without friends, without family, without connections, without a way to support myself financially, and I did not know what to do. So I broke down on my living room and cried. I cried myself to sleep that night. I woke up the other day at 5 a.m. with a morning prayer. Allahu Akbar. I can still hear it. Lying on the floor, having slept on my own tears, no strength in my legs to get up. I looked at the door of my flat, and for a second I thought, someone is going to knock on that door and is going to save me. Someone is going to offer help. Someone. I cannot be in the nightmare that I am in. I can't. And if I am, there is no way I can save myself from this mess. So I looked at the door for long minutes, perhaps an hour. That's crazy, I know. Perhaps an hour, waiting to hear the knock on the door. Needless to say, that knock never came. And time passed. My legs were starting to hurt. My back was starting to hurt because I was on the floor. And I felt, okay, I think no one is coming to save me. I have to get up. Literally and metaphorically, I have to save myself because there is no one else here to do that. I'm totally alone in a strange, foreign, chaotic, savage country and city, particularly the city of Cairo, a jungle. I'm alone and I have to protect myself. I have to save myself. I have to get up by myself. I have to make it by myself. There is no one coming to save me but myself. I believe that was the moment when I became an adult. Really, I mean, if you think about it, do you know when you became an adult? You probably don't. You did not notice it because you're not crazy like me and you don't put yourself into the pickles I put myself in, basically. Okay? I know exactly the moment when I became an adult. And that was it. Nobody's coming to save me. This is my life. These are my choices. It's my responsibility to save myself and to make this dream happen, no matter what. So I got up. I cleaned my face. My makeup was all over the place. And I started to set up a plan, a strategy, first of all, to survive, and then to see how I could walk this path with the cards that had been dealt to me. And they were not good cards. Okay, again, no help, no connections, no manager, no nothing, and a law forbidding me to do what I came there to do. This is not a good setting. It is not a lucky strike. It's the opposite. But I knew that if I focused, if I became grounded, if I was humble enough to work hard and to keep my eye on the prize, I would get there. And I did. So it's important to become an adult in the sense of taking responsibility for your life, your choices, your dreams, and not expecting the world to help you with that. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. You cannot count on it. You can count on yourself. It's your life. It's your dream. You're the one responsible for getting up and making it happen because, baby, 99.999% of the times, no one is going to knock on that door. You have to get up and open the door and leave and make it happen. Am I too harsh? I don't know. Am I? Maybe I am, but it's coming from a place of love, and it's definitely coming from a place of honesty. So hear me out. You are your own shining knight, riding a white horse, coming to save yourself. Believe me. That is one of the principles of self-empowerment I teach in my signature course, basically in everything that I do. And it's coming from real experience, real life. Okay? Now, I'm checking my notes to make sure I don't forget anything, okay? The fourth thing I learned, and I'm just sharing a few things, guys, okay? Because if I told you everything I learned in that decade of work and life in Egypt, we wouldn't leave. It would take us a week. Okay, so I selected, once again, lessons that I feel could strike a chord with so many of you. Lessons that I feel somehow can trigger you and inspire you and provoke you and empower you. Okay, so hopefully I'm succeeding. You're going to let me know in the comments, okay? Understand life cycles and learn to flow with them. This is something I have learned not early on. It took me time to understand this. And it took me the time to observe and the experience and the space to look back and see how things happen. There is a beginning and an end to everything. There are cycles. Even in a career, okay? Let's talk about my career, for instance. I've been doing this professionally, exclusively for more than 20 years. In these 20 years, I have gone through several birth and death cycles. And that's not only inevitable, but it's beautiful. And it's something that we should aim for. We should embrace instead of resisting. What I see in a lot of my students is a resistance to change. If they achieve a certain dream, they want to stay there in that specific format and context forever. They don't want it to go down. They don't want it to be destroyed. They don't want that cycle to end. But invariably, it ends. Everything starts and ends. Even in personal relationships, there are cycles. And if you embrace a new cycle and you allow the older cycle to die, you're going to find more depth. You're going to find more elevation. You're going to find different stages of that process, of that career, of that relationship, of that dream, of that whatever you are doing. I started performing in Egypt, particularly in Cairo. I never thought it would be forever because it was the kind of lifestyle I did not want to have forever. I basically had no life of my own. I was performing, rehearsing, resting, and repeating it. That's it. Anything else was sacrificed. Friendships, personal relationships, hobbies, even my own health was sacrificed. And I knew I wouldn't want to keep that lifestyle forever. But I remember that when the 2011 revolution hit and all work stopped in Cairo, including my work, I was shocked and I felt my world had come to an end. Really, I mean, picture this. I had been performing nonstop for many years. The night before the 2011 revolution in Midan Tahrir Square, I had been performing like I had done for so many years. The previous night, when I woke up and found there was a revolution just a few kilometers from my house in Zamalek, and when I realized there was no work, all the theaters, nightclubs, everything was closed, I felt that life had betrayed me. Honestly, I felt angry. Of course, I was also thinking about the collective meaning of the Arab Spring, right? What does this mean for Egypt? What does this mean for the Middle East, for the world, right? What is going to happen to Egyptian society? Of course, I thought about that because I was a part of it, but I also felt personally attacked. How come, from one day to the other, everything I worked so hard for crumbles? Everything I worked so hard for disappears. My musicians were at home panicking. I was at home panicking because what we had built had crumbled in the space of a few hours, a few days. What I did not know was that a cycle was ending and the new cycle was beginning, because that was the time when I started getting invitations to travel the world teaching, performing, and lecturing. And it became evident that a death that felt so personal, so unfair, and so shocking to me was in fact the beginning of a new cycle in my career and life. I'm not going to say this is easy. Dying and letting things die is not easy. And allowing the new to come to us, it's not easy as well. But we have no choice. You either flow with life cycles and you make the best out of them, or you die, you crystallize, you get stuck, you fall. The only way not to fall is to ride the waves as they come. Let me repeat this because this is good. The only way not to fall is to ride the waves as they come. If you cannot fight it, ride with it. Go with it. See where is it taking you? What is the new direction being indicated? Because there is always a new direction being shown. We're so stubborn and we're so crystallized in our comfort zone that we usually don't see the new path opening up in front of us, but there is a new path there. So offer yourself the space to understand that. The same thing or a very similar thing happened when, after years of performing, lecturing, and teaching around the world at the best festivals in the world, and mind you, I was very grateful for it and very happy and very honored, right? Aside from that, almost a decade of successful work in Egypt, in Cairo specifically, I was sharing the love I had for Egyptian dance all over the world. What a privilege. And how many dances can say the same, right? I mean, how many dances have succeeded in Egypt in their own terms without selling their soul to the devil and have traveled the world doing the work they love? It's a privilege, right? But there came a time when I felt so burned out, sick, exhausted, that I knew in my heart that phase of my work and life was dying too. And once again, I felt furious. Why? I worked so much for this, right? I put so much passion, so much time, so much effort, so much everything into it. Why? Why, Joana, do you have to get a burnout? Why are you exhausted? You should be grateful. You should be celebrating. The fact is, during my latest USA and Canada tour, my health went down. I got an infection that almost forced me to cancel the entire tour. And that was the flag, the red flag, that I could not ignore. When I came back to Portugal, I knew that I needed to isolate myself, retreat into a silent place where I could organize, take stock of everything I had learned, everything I had done, and start something new. I did not know what I would do next, but I knew it was not what I had been done so far. Once again, very scary. So I rented a place in the mountain, isolated, no mobile, no internet, no nothing, like a cave, a hermit's cave. I walked barefoot to the river. I listened to the birds, and everyone thought I had gone insane. That was the birth of Joana Saahirah's World, an online dance school. I did not know it at the time, but that was the birth of the school. Why am I telling you all this? Because in life, there are cycles. And let me repeat, the more you flow with them, the more you let things begin and die. And the more you're brave and see what is not visible yet and say yes to the waves as they come, the more powerful and expansive you become. You go up and up and up and up, and you can only become a wiser, happier version of yourself. Last but not least, let me check the last lesson I have selected to share with you. And again, let me remind you, there is a free ebook with 3 rules for success in Egyptian dance, especially if you want to become a professional. Claim your free ebook in the show notes or in the description box below this video. And of course, don't forget to join the newsletter of the podcast, because this second season is bringing the most amazing guests with incredible conversations that I know are going to inspire you. They're human, they're raw, they're powerful, bullshit-free, and amazing. So make sure you also join the podcast newsletter. And if you want to learn Egyptian dance and self-empowerment in a deep, real way, consider joining the new edition of Joana Saahirah's signature course, Authentic Egyptian Dance and Personal Empowerment from the ABC to Mastery. You know exactly where to get more information about that and other courses we have available at Joana Saahirah's Online Dance School. Yes, you do. In the description box below this video or in the show notes. Now, let's go for the last lesson that I have reserved for you. Success comes from delivering consistently and honestly your way. Let me explain. When we dream about dance, and we dream about anything else, not only dance, most of us will check what others are doing and how they do it, and we will copy them, we will follow them. When I was performing in Cairo, believe it or not, and believe it because it's true, I had well-known, very well-known and respected dancers, especially Egyptians, coming to my show to see what I was doing, how I was doing it, who were my musicians, so that they could steal my musicians, copy my program, and try to reproduce what I was doing. I felt that was a compliment, but I felt pity for those dancers because, I mean, come on, you're going into the show of another dancer to see how she does it or how he does it. You don't trust your talent, your vision, your intelligence enough to create your own stuff? What kind of professional are you? I never understood that. I believe that if you like a dancer, you go there as an audience and you tell that dancer, I love your work. Why not? That doesn't make you less of a professional. It doesn't make you less talented. It just makes you more elegant and self-confident, because it takes a lot of self-confidence to go into another dancer's space and say, I love what you do. Bravo. You're so talented. I love to watch you. Why not? But coming into another dancer's space to see how they do things and copy or steal their way, it's just beneath you, okay? So from my experience, not only of performing in Cairo, but a lot coming from the performance experience in Cairo, is that dancers who do it their way, dancers who learn from others, but find their own language, their own style, their own ideas, their own perspective, those are the ones who build a name, a brand, because professionally speaking, we are a brand or we can become a brand. Those are the ones who leave a legacy and an impact, independently of being a part of the mafias and the lobbies and the groups and the friends. Independently of that, real work, real talent, and delivered service at the highest level speaks louder than lobbies and mafias. How do I know that? I know it. Trust me. Do it your way. Learn from others, get inspired by others, but in the end of the day, it's your unique perspective that is going to make you the kind of person and dancer that you're supposed to become. And that is, my darlings, the last lesson I'm going to share with you. And again, there is so much more I could share. I am going to suggest you check my books, Behind the Curtain and The Secrets of Egypt, Dance, Life and Beyond. All the information you know where. I'm not going to repeat it. Show notes. I repeated it. Description box below the video. I repeated it. Yes, all is there. Check our courses. Check my signature course. And if you dream about becoming a professional Oriental dancer, I will also suggest you check my private, special, exclusive program, Professional Mastermind, where I co-create a professional level course and performance with you. Yeah, that's luxury right there, and you can enjoy it. All the information about the Professional Mastermind, my signature course, my books, and so much more in the show notes, in the description box below this video. Follow the podcast, rate it, like it, comment, share it. If you feel this is valuable content that inspires you, that empowers you, support it. I do this podcast for free. Retribute with your love. You know how. Liking it, rating it, following it, sharing it with your peeps, and giving back the love that you are receiving. Now, I will say goodbye, and I will hope to see you and dance with you soon. Remember that the next episode of our podcast comes with a very special guest, and you don't want to miss that. If you want to be the first to know about it, subscribe to the podcast newsletter. Everything I'm inviting you to do is in the show notes and description box below the video if you are watching or listening to this episode on YouTube. I cannot wait to see you and dance with you. Right here at the Oriental Café podcast second season, or at Joana Saahirah's World, an online dance school. Love you. See you. Dance with you soon.